And this is used often in sitcoms, where things just go off in all kinds of crazy directions, and you think, where is this all going? And then all of a sudden it all loops back together, and because so-and-so tripped over a chair, well, that's why he found the thing that he'd lost or whatever, right? But it's a way of telling stories and connecting things together. Capture, catalog, and review, I already talked about. Boxes, Evernote, Moleskine, or Moleskin, however you want to say it. I don't want to sound elitist or anything. But you've got to figure out ways of being able to capture the ideas that you come up with. You find something, you make an association, you hear something, someone says something. If you don't capture it and you don't catalog it, it's gone, and you're not going to be able to use it again. So part of being able to make these connections and associations is this capturing. Boxes is Twyla Tharp, who wrote, what's it called? The Creative Life, or now I can't remember, but she talks about just getting a cardboard box and labeling it, and it's based on your project. And anytime you come across anything, you throw it into that box. Now, for me, that would mean doing a hell of a lot of printing, but it can work, especially when you're doing things like Twyla Tharp was a choreographer. So when she saw a piece of fabric, when she saw physical elements, she put them in this space, and they would help her remember her ideas and be able to connect to things. So mortar is about connection, but this is more about getting a bit deeper. This is more about really, truly understanding something. This is about doing a lot of research. This is about having that focus and using that focus to dive really deep on something. And the only way that you can really do this is by buying and reading books and talking to experts and really, really trying to understand what it is that you're doing. It leads to actual experience. This one's very tough to just put into your toolkit, other than perhaps getting a library card or buying a subscription to some subject matter experts that create books or magazines, or go to conferences, or do things that allow you to get a little more in-depth. And the last but not least, how to create things differently, how to come up with this uniqueness. So we've laid down our foundation of action. We've figured out how to make things connect. What if your weakness is just around making something that is different, or making something that's original? The question is, what makes you so special? You need to experiment. The way that you think and the way that you look at things, no matter how much you disagree with me, is unique. We're all unique people. We all have a unique perspective. The tough part is actually trying to find the way to express it, to express your true self or your true vision without being intimidated. And again, it's really tough when you look at some of the competition that's out there. Well, don't always look at the competition. But what is deviation really about? It's about breaking default. It's about recognizing how you think. It's about recognizing that when I say the word ball, you think round. And maybe when I say the word ball, you should think steel or something completely different. Or I don't want to go too far with that one. But it's about breaking default. I love this example in the movie Fight Club. One of the things that Tyler Durden does to mess things up is he puts airplane safety cards that have real-life situations happening. Instead of everyone looking all calm, everyone's panicking and freaking out and running over each other, stepping over each other to get out of the plane, and there's bodies littered everywhere. It's really quite awful. But it's different. It's not what you expect. And that's what you need to start doing with your thoughts. You need to start going, I always go to the same place. I've created this groove. I need to get out of that groove. How do you do that? Well, two things that you can put in your creative toolbox are lenses and blindfolds. And again, we've got the short-term and long-term types of solutions. The lenses are simple things that you can instantly use to create something different or to think about something from a different perspective. They're ways to experiment. They're ways to test and to trial things. The The blindfold is a lot more about inner expression. It's a lot more about, okay, I'm not going to just try to look at things differently. I'm going to really look inward, and I'm going to really try to express my inner voice, my unique inner voice, which is what creativity is truly about. It's about letting go and playing. So briefly, let's talk about lenses. There's a whole bunch of different ways of dealing with how to look at something. Content on content is a really simple exercise where you take what you're creating or what you're thinking about, and you grab something, anything. It can be something that you like. It could be a movie. It could be an idea or a construct or a concept, and you mash them together, or you layer them on top of each other, and you say, how could I express this idea through this concept? So it's like saying, and you can see all kinds of examples where you say, I'm going to write a song. Normally I write music for an orchestra. What would this song be like if I could only use 8-bit sound? What would this song be like if I could only use bottles filled with water? What would this song be like if I had to express it as a game, or had to express it as? So you can get a list of elements that you can filter something through. So the content that you're creating can be tweaked or forced through something. A perfect example in the commercial world is Lego. I mean, Lego has just gone nuts with this idea of content on content. They've created some absolutely amazingly original ways of playing with Lego. Now, when you think original, but they say, well, we've got these little Lego people. What if we look at the Lego people through the context of the Star Wars lens? Oh my God, this is amazing. What if we try creating a rock band through the lens of Lego? What does that look like? So it's a quick way to come up with something that hasn't been created before that's original, is by layering something, one piece of content on another piece of content, and seeing what that's like. Through the looking glass is another exercise that's very simple. It just says, what's your focus, and how do I do the opposite? And you try to fail. You try to make it terrible. If you're sitting down to paint a painting, what would be the worst possible thing you could do? Turn the canvas over, paint on the back. What if you could only paint with black? You're trying to make it bad. You're trying to make it the worst that it could be. If you're trying to come up with ideas, you try to come up with really bad ideas. Again, your brain will do interesting things because it's going to take that at face value and it's going to try to make it work. And when your brain tries to make it work and you haven't approached it from that opposite angle before, you can come up with things that are unexpected, that are not just the default way that you've approached it. And recombinant lists, this is really about taking something like listing all the attributes of something that you're trying to achieve or that you're going to do, and recombining them in different ways. Blindfolds is the other element in the creative toolbox around deviation. Honestly, this is about an attitude. This is about deciding that something is important. Darkroom really just means, I was reading about a couple of pretty big industry players like Bill Gates and some other folks that are considered innovators or masters in some aspect of their industry. And they take time out to do and think about nothing. Bill Gates talks about going on a retreat where he actually spends time sitting in a chair and relaxing and not having any input coming in. A lot of artists talk about this. It's sort of weird to talk about Bill Gates as an artist, but he's a very creative person. So having that ability to stop and not think about how you want this song to turn out, or how you want this design to work, or how you want this program to function, and to just stop and not think about it. That can actually lead to some original thoughts later on. Sleepworking, you've all heard about artists that are focused on a problem, then they set it aside for the next day, and they sleep on it, and when they wake up, sometimes the answer is in their heads. Well, a lot of that is mythology, but part of that is true in that you just need to sometimes relax and let your actual true self be able to express itself through the subconscious by relaxing and by taking time off. And then the idea of a fail budget is also really important, where you work on things that you're passionate about that don't have to be attached to the particular task that you're doing. It's just something different. It's something that allows you to relax, or something that just gives you energy. It might be a pottery class or flower arranging, and that has nothing to do with what it is that you want to be a creative genius on, but that gives you breadth, that gives you perspective, that suddenly allows you to understand and learn something that you hadn't had before. So ultimately, in conclusion, really, creativity shouldn't be mysterious and intimidating. It should be something that we can all achieve. It should be something that if you want it, you should be able to grasp it. So again, creativity is an act of connecting things in ways that you didn't expect. It involves action, connection, and deviation, or the do, glue, and skew. Action is about practice and practice and practice and practice that leads to experience. Connection is about making associations that eventually lead to a true understanding. Deviation is about experimenting with different ways of looking at things or seeing things or doing things, and then being able to find the courage to express it in the way that only you can express it. There's 8 different creative types that you may or may not relate to, depending on your creative strengths and your creative weaknesses. And then those weaknesses can be bolstered by filling your creative toolkit with either dynamite or picks that lead to more practice and experience, lassos and mortar, which have to do with associations and understanding, and then lenses and blindfolds, which are about experimenting and being truly able to express yourself. So hopefully that's given you something, sparked something in you that will allow you to realize that creativity is something that anybody can attempt if they're passionate. And that's it.